When Nneka returned to Lagos, it wasn't with a full heart. She left part of it behind, in a small mud house where the walls whispered at night, and in the hands of her mother, who had become both guardian and gatekeeper. But work waited for no woman, and Lagos did not understand the rhythm of a child like Muna. She kissed him on the forehead. He flinched. She held his hand tight. He pulled away. She said, "Mommy will come back soon. Be good, okay?" He turned to the zinc wall and whispered, "Don't touch that thing again," in a voice of someone else. And that was how she left. The morning after, Mama Nkeiru sat outside with her rosary. Her lips moved, but her eyes never left Mona, who was chasing his own shadow across the compound, laughing like it had told him a secret. She knew what was coming. In this village, a child who didn't greet an elder was already guilty. A child who didn't answer when called was stubborn. A child who spoke to himself was something else. But Mama Nkeiru was not ready to let the war eat the boy her daughter had given her. So she did what every responsible grandmother in Umudim would do. She decided to put him in a school. There was only one government primary school in the village, Umuapu Central School. 3 blocks of classrooms, cracked blackboards, 1 rusted bell, and a compound wide enough for girls to wander in during assembly. She dressed Mona in the cleanest clothes similar to the school uniform she could find. A slightly oversized white shirt, shorts that reached his knees, a battered slippers because he refused to wear shoes. He screamed when they tried. She carried a black small polythene bag with 2 notebooks, 1 pencil, 1 sachet of water and a packet of biscuits, and walked. Muna skipped, not like a child going to school for the first time, but like someone dancing to music only he could hear. When they reached the gate, children were already lining up. The school bell had just rung. All the children stood still, but Muna, he kept spinning, then stopped and shouted, "Open your book! I said open your book," like he was the teacher. The children turned and laughed. Some pointed, some whispered, "See that boy? He's playing teacher. Why is he walking like that? Why is his eye not looking at us?" Mama Nkeiru held his hand tighter than ever before. He walked straight to the headmistress's office, a small cubicle with a rusted filing cabinet, 2 plastic chairs, and a portrait of the governor hanging somewhere. "Good morning, ma," she said. "My grandson needs to join primary 1. The headmistress, an old woman with thick glasses and a resting frown, looked up slowly. She peered at Mona, who was now tapping the wall with 2 fingers and whispering something about a goat. Is he alright?" she asked. He's alright. Mama Nkeiru replied quickly. "He just learns differently." They gave him a space. Primary 1. The teacher's name was Miss Chinelo, a thin woman with a loud voice and very little patience. From the first day, it was war. Muna didn't sit when asked. He didn't write when others wrote. When Miss Chinelo said A is for apple, Muna repeated A is for apple 4 times, louder each time, clapping his hands. The other children laughed. Some moved their chairs away from him. He didn't talk to any of them. He didn't ask to borrow pencil. He didn't play during break time. He would sit by the tree at the back of the classroom, pick small stones, arrange them in circles. Every morning, Mama Nkeiru would walk him to school. Every afternoon, she would wait for him outside. The teacher started complaining. "Madam, your grandson is not focusing. He doesn't follow instructions. You pushed one boy today because he took his pencil. He's always repeating everything I say like a mockery. Is he mentally okay?" And every time, Mama Nkeiru would nod and say, "I will talk to him." But when she got home, she would cry quietly behind the curtain, because how do you talk to a boy who doesn't know what he's doing is wrong? Sometimes he would stare at her face, then reach out and touch her chin gently and say, "Today in school, we must respect elders." And that was all. No, "I'm sorry." No, "How was your day?" Just another echo, another borrowed voice. One afternoon, he came home with his shirt torn. "What happened?" she asked. He only said, "Don't fight in class. Fighting is bad," then laughed and walked away. She later heard from a child in the neighborhood that Muna had been called a witch boy. He had tried to hug someone too tightly, didn't know when to stop. The child pushed him off. Muna slapped him. The village began to murmur again. Is it true he doesn't sleep at night? He talks like someone possessed. He must not be allowed to sit close to my daughter, one of the villagers said. And that night, when all the lamps were out and the frogs began their nightly choir, Mama Nkeiru knelt beside her mat and whispered, God, I'm trying, but I don't know how to reach him. Help me to see him, not fix him. See him before the world crushes what I don't understand. And outside the window, when I was laughing softly at the stars, his hands flapping, his lips mouthing a song only he could hear. It was a Monday morning when the first knock came, not at the front door, but at the side window, the one near the mango tree. Mama Nkeiru just finished warming yam porridge when she heard the soft clap 3 times. She wiped her hands on her wrapper and stepped outside. There they were, 3 women, all members of the women's fellowship in the village church. They came with soft smiles and firm voices. Good morning, Mama Nkeiru. We came in peace. We came because of the boy. She didn't have to ask which boy. They didn't come with insults. No, they came with concern. The kind that wears the mask of love but smells faintly of fear. One of them, Sister Agnes, stepped forward. We have been observing him. We have been praying. And we believe that the boy might be under certain bondage. Mama Nkeiru said nothing. She didn't blink. Another added quickly, don't get us wrong, oh Mama. You are not saying it's your fault. Sometimes these things come from the father's side or even through the bloodline. The third woman, tall and slender, spoke last. There's a program this Wednesday. Deliverance hour. Bring him. We will pray for him. We believe something will shift. And with that, they left, leaving behind a scent of perfume and a growing crack in Mama Nkeiru's chest. She didn't mention it to Mona. She didn't want to scare him, not as if he would even understand. But that Wednesday morning, she patted him carefully, put him in a fresh outfit, rubbed his skin with ori, and tied her best wrapper. She didn't bother to take him to school. She decided to try taking him to the church for the deliverance. They arrived before the drums began. Inside the church, the air was heavy, not with dust, but with expectation. Songs filled the air, claps, chants, then silence. They called all those who needed healing and deliverance to the front. Muna stood beside Mama Nkeiru, clapping his hands quietly. He wasn't crying. He wasn't scared. He was looking at the ceiling fan like it was whispering something only he could hear. The pastor stepped down from the altar, walked to them slowly. He placed his hand on Muna's head. Muna pulled away. He didn't like touch. He flinched. The pastor smiled. Spirit of resistance. He placed both hands this time. In the name of Jesus. Muna pushed his hand off and said loudly, if you touch my water bottle, you will die. Gasps, whispers. A woman in the back crossed herself. Another clapped harder and shouted, come out. They tried again. This time, Muna ran forward, grabbed the microphone and yelled, now clap your hands and sit down. Everyone froze. He was mimicking a teacher, but they didn't see that. They saw a child speaking in another voice. Some shouted amen, some clapped. One woman almost fainted. The pastor turned to Mama Nkeiru and said, bring him again. I will take more than one section. But Mama Nkeiru shook her head gently. She walked to Mona, took his hand. He didn't resist, and they left. That evening, she did not open her shop. She didn't greet anyone. She sat in the front of her house with Mona beside her, watching the chicken scratch the earth. And softly, she said to no one in particular, if a fish doesn't swim like others, must we roast it? Mona said nothing, but he leaned his head against her arm for the first time. The harmattan was stubborn that year. Dust lingered in the air like bad memory. Leaves cracked without warning, and the village children came to school with ash white nails and sweaters suiting for the wind. Muna was now halfway through primary 1. He had not improved much, at least not in the way the teachers wanted. He still flapped, still echoed, still sat alone during break. But Mama Nkeiru noticed something small, something sacred. He had started humming. A tune, soft, tuneless, sometimes just 3 tones. But it came when he was calm, when he watched her cook, when he sat under the orange tree. It was his way of saying, I'm okay. They were already halfway through the tale. Then came Chisom, a small girl with 2 missing front teeth and a stammer so bad. Even her own brothers mocked her. She joined the class meeting after her family moved back from Port Harcourt. She was quiet, gentle, and slow. The children pounced. Talk now. Why do you like to talk like a frog? Why is your hand always shaking? Chisom cried every day. And Mona watched, always from the back, his face unreadable. Then one day, everything changed. They were having physical education. It was a hot Thursday. Miss Chinelo was absent, so the assistant teacher asked the children to play in groups. Chisom stood alone, as usual. One of the older boys Obina walked up to her and snatched her exercise book. The pupils laughed. Chisom tried to get it back. He pushed her. She fell, laughed at her, pointed, and suddenly, before anyone could blink, Mona ran forward. Not walked, not drifted, ran. He grabbed Obina's shirt with surprising strength, pushed him to the floor, hard, then stood over him and shouted, Give her her book! Give her her book! Give her her book! Over and over. Everyone froze. It wasn't the push that shocked them. It was the fury, the clarity, the voice that sounded like it came from a different Mona. The teacher rushed him, pulled them apart, asked a million questions. But Chisom, she just sat there, holding her book tightly. She looked at Mona. He wasn't looking at her. He never did, but he was standing close, still repeating the phrase under his breath. Give her her book. Give her her book. That day, for the first time, someone in the class said, maybe he's not mad. Another whispered, maybe he just sees things differently. And Chisom, he began to sit near him during break, not beside him, near him. She would hum softly, he would flap quietly. They never spoke, they hardly did. But when she stammered too hard to finish her sentence, Mona sometimes echoed it word for word, clear and strong, and somehow that helped. Later that week, Mama Nkeiru heard the story. A young boy from the class told her why buying carbon biscuits from her shop. She didn't react, she just nodded. But that night, after Mona had eaten and coiled beside her mat, she stared at the ceiling and whispered, even wind that has no shape can still carry fire. It was a Friday, the kind of Friday where the sky wears a grey wrapper and the breeze smells like something waiting to happen. Mama Nkeiru had just feeling boiling cold when they came. 3 women, all tied in white, and white chalk patterns on their body, their steps heavy with purpose, their eyes sharp with spiritual knowing. They were from Ezemo Women's Fellowship, a group known in Umudim for spiritual sanitation. They had chased away stubborn spirits from people's compounds. They had prayed away barrenness, addiction, and a man who barked like a dog for 6 weeks straight. So when they arrived, no one asked questions, not even Mama Nkeiru. They didn't know. They didn't greet like before. They came singing, carrying candles, salt in plastic plates, and a bottle of Fanta to sweeten the spirit. The song, Power, 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 Power. And Mona, he was in the compound, sitting on the ground, beside the chicken coop, tapping 2 stones together, over and over. Not looking up, not blinking. The women formed a circle. The leader, Mama Gozie, stepped forward. We have come to help you, Mama Nkeiru. This boy, he is not ordinary. We have asked the spirit. We have prayed. And the spirits revealed that this is not a daily. This is a spiritual lock. Mama Nkeiru didn't argue. She didn't have the strength for long talk. She just stood by the wall and watched. They began to sing louder. They poured salt around Mona in a small circle. He flinched. He looked at the ground and whispered, if you don't keep quiet, I will flog you. They laughed. The women gasped. One of them shouted, he is responding. Another screamed. He heard the spirit speaking in us. They poured oil on his head. He tried to run. They held him down. He screamed. Not a spiritual scream, not a demonic one, just a child's cry, raw, terrified, overwhelmed. But when they heard something else, come out, out, out now, and Mama Nkeiru snapped. She didn't shout, she didn't scream. She walked forward with quiet thunder in her steps, pushed through the circle, and pulled Muna up, arms wrapped tight around his small body. Then she turned to them and said, "If a child doesn't speak your language, do you beat him for it? If his clock ticks different, do you smash it against the wall? My grandson is not cursed. He's not sick. He's not held by any demon. He's held by a mystery, and that mystery is not yours to unravel with oil and noise." The women froze. Silence swept through them like a breeze that didn't greet anyone. The Mama Gosie cleared her throat. "Ah, Mama Nkeiru, we are only trying to help." But Mama Nkeiru shook her head slowly. "You came to perform, not to help. Help listens. Help learns. Help bends low, not beats high." She pointed to the bottle of oil. "You didn't even ask if he likes touch." And after that, they left disappointedly.